slave to our freedom. The young brother was downright eloquent with his misinformed soliloquy. He said using nigger affectionately among ourselves takes the negativity out of the word, but that no other race of people can use it ever but us. And you thought that kind of reasoning existed only in the Twilight Zone. Then again, the Twilight Zone was a TV show, and the plight of Black America is tragic reality. Somebody said the revolution would not be televised. They didn't say anything about our devolution, which is well documented.
If there's anything lovely, if there's anything desirable, if there's anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that obtaineth it? The statesman proclaimeth that he have it. The ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but findeth the subject that he possesses it. Evil is not requisite to man, neither vice can be necessary to be tolerated. Yet how many evils are committed by the convenience of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? But be wise, O rulers, and learn, O thou that art to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer. It is the source from which Moorish Americans draw their strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, walking in Jerusalem, just like John, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretcheth forth the heaven with his hands, who hath described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set it bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give honor to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who reached down into the watery grave of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms to set you and me back upright on our feet again. I'd like to give honor to the forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I'd like to give honor to Marcus Mosiah Garvey because this brother had to have pure thoughts in order to pave the way for love. I'd like to give honor to all literature pertaining to Islam in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd like to give honor to our two flags, just solely and just so quinted, the right of soil and the right of blood, the flag of our origin, moreover the flag of our birth. Honor to our charter that gives us the right to function in these United States and throughout the world without molestation of ridicule of any kind. I'd like to give honor to all leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America here, there, and everywhere. And I'd like to give a special honor to Temple number 2 here in Portland, Oregon for their growth and their development, their wills and their ways. At this time, I'd like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran. It is the book of the seven seals, the 18 missing years of Jesus' life that's missing in your Holy Bible. And I want to read from a chapter today, chapter 3. And the reason why I'm going to read from chapter 3 today, because more times than not, I hear one always talk about unity, how we need to unify. But before you and I could even unify with one another, the first person that we got to come in unity with is God. You got to start talking to God and becoming one with God and letting God be your Father. See, a lot of us keep saying God is the Father. If God is the Father, then we are his children. And if we are the children of God, then we got to do what he say do. And if we are not doing what God say do, then we are not a child of God. We are a child of the demigod. So at this time, I'm going to read from chapter 23. And I'm going to read the last 3 verses. Verse 21, verse 22, and verse 23. And it reads on this wise. 21. The only devil from which man must be redeemed is self, the lower self. If man would find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. If man would find his Savior, he must look within. And when the demon self has been dethroned, the Savior love will be exalted through the throne of power. The David of the light is purity, who slays the strong Goliath of the dark and seeks the Savior love upon the throne. Thus we just had a reading of the Moorish Holy Quran, divinely prepared by our holy prophet Noble Ali for our earthly and our divine salvation. So now let me get back on this unity. I'm looking at verse 21, and it said the only devil from which man must be redeemed is self, the lower self. And a lot of times I used to look at my devil, or I used to look at Lucifer, I used to look at Satan. And when I used to look at these particular attributes, I used to look for them outside of myself. Even when I was looking for the devil, I thought that the devil had horns and that the angel had wings. But through joining the Moorish Science Temple of America, we learned that when you do devilish things, then you're a devil. You know, they had a lesson that's in this Moorish Quran. It said, where are you going, Satan? It said, I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking who I may devour. Now, how that mean? Well, say you had a friend, and you know that your friend is married, he has a good family, and you go to him. Say, come on, man, let's go do this. Come on, let's go do that. When you know that he's married at home with his family, and if you go get him to do anything that's diametrically opposed, it could mean him losing his family or even losing his life. So when I go to him saying, let's go do this, let's go do that, you know who I am? I'm Satan. I'm Satan, and I'm going to and fro the earth seeking who I may devour. So when you know that a brother or a sister has a particular weakness and you cater to that weakness, you try to feed on that weakness, you are Satan, the devil in disguise, all powerful yet full of jealousy, hate, and lust. And when we talk about David and Goliath, see, when we look at our Moorish flag, let me stop here for a minute. When we talk about this Moorish flag here, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center, I want to reiterate a lesson that I was talking about in our past holy day. I was talking about this star right here and this flag. And when Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913, he knew that he had to go to do some work to retrieve the flag. So he did that when he talked to Woodrow Wilson. But now we're looking at the flag. And the flag was taken down. The flag was taken down in Morocco. When I was born, the Moroccan flag, the Moorish flag, was not being flown in Morocco. They took it down, and the French flag was being flown. And if Noble Drew Ali would not have come with the methodology that was conducive to our growth and development, this flag right here would still be in the vault. Now we're still talking about this flag because every nation on earth had a flag. Every nation on earth can trace themselves back, and thus they will know. Like you hear a lot of little baby brothers running around here in Portland, and run around a lot of other places in the United States saying when it comes to Noble Drew Ali, they are part of the national side of the movement. Well, that is Satan in disguise, all powerful yet full of jealousy, hate, and lust, because there's no such thing as a national side of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because when Allah, who is the great God of the universe, sent Noble Drew Ali to this earth, he sent him with two sciences. See, because Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, when they were sent to this earth, they came to a particular people and then to the world. See, Jesus came to the Israelites, but to the world because he was a universal prophet. But when Noble Drew Ali come, he just couldn't come to teach you about your religion. He had to come and bring two things because you lost two things. And what are the two things that you lost? Your nationality and your divine creed. That is what we teach in the Moorish Science Temple of America. We just don't teach about your nationality. We teach about your divine creed as well. And in a minute, we're going to tell you why we teach about divine creed as well. So now, Jesus, when he come on the scene, you hear a lot of people call him Lord. Drew Ali said, man is the Lord of the plane of things made manifest. And when you hear the 23rd song, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He's making me to lie down in green pastures. Or when you hear the 27th song, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? When you hear that, the first person come to your mind is Jesus. But you got to understand this flag right here. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. In our Moorish literature, it tells you that Ruth was a Moabite. So if Ruth was a Moabite, the ancient Moabite, then this flag is hers too. This flag is the flag of David. This flag is the flag of Solomon. Now you look over there in what they call the Middle East, no such thing. They said that the hectogram, the six-pointed star, is the Star of David. And they thought they could get away with it, but Drew Ali came and crushed you. Now, let's hold up. Because when Noble Drew Ali had the first convention in 1928, and he incorporated us in 1928, everybody is running around. And as they run around, they said that the Moorish Americans got their signs from the Vatican. But when I checked the records, and through scientific study and investigation, I come to find out that the Vatican didn't come about until 1929. After Drew Ali did what they did, they jumped on the bandwagon with our paperwork. That's what the paperwork is. The Vatican used our paperwork. So what we're talking about now, we're talking about a nationality. When you call yourself Negro, when you call yourself colored, and when you call yourself black, I'm really talking to those that's my age or older. You know good and well if somebody called you black when you was coming up, it was derogatory, but what makes it all right today? And we know that the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. And when we begin to talk about the Council of Nicaea, when the European nations and priests came together to try to interpret our record, you know that they took the book and stole, but on Sunday morning, you still in the church. On these holidays, we just had a holiday the other day. Knowing what took place in 1776, these people of African descent were still picking cotton. But yet you can celebrate this holiday and justify it. It gives me an opportunity to be with my family. But when you got with your family, you didn't tell them about nationality. You didn't tell them about divine creed. You was over there drunk with them Christians. Because all of them is Christians. Because we all thought that we were. We was raised in the church. But through European psychology, you don't want to take on that. Now, you're a revolutionary. You talk about what the man done, but you grab on his woman. You grab on his holiday, and you grab on everything that's a part of him. Just like you got Moorish Americans. Brother posted something today and he texted back saying, man, I'm young in this. And I said, I respect that, brother, because he said that pass it on, Ilaha Muhammadah Rasulullah. I said, I can't pass that on. I cannot pass on Ilaha Muhammadah Rasulullah because that said that Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet. And if Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet, then I don't believe in God no more. Because the book say whenever a nation is in need for a prophet, Allah will send one. And he sent us Drew Ali. He had to send one look just like you and me. Now, if we wouldn't have lost a nationality, then there might not have been a need for Noble Drew Ali. We had a religion. But because of the Berlin Conference and other sciences, even Islam, because when you begin to talk about Islam or when you begin to talk about Arabia, period, there was a brother named Abraham. Abraham had a wife named Sarah. They weren't able to have children. So they had a handmaid, the Egyptian, the African, named Hagar, and she had a son by Abraham named Ishmael. Ishmael is the father of the Arabian nation. So if Ishmael is the father of the Arabian nation, then I see why we was instructed to read the book about J.A. Rogers and all of his collections. Because when you look at J.A. Rogers' collections and it talks about West Africa, it looks like Moroccans look just like you and me. But today, those that's in Morocco do not look like you and me. Because when they moved us out, they moved somebody else in. And not just there, all over the world. The Berlin Conference is still in manifest. Last week I talked about the Berlin Conference, and I talked about it because Noble Drew Ali told us Negro. He says a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. And we searched all up and down Africa looking for this Negro River, and we come to find out that it's in Brazil. So if the Negro River is in Brazil and Noble Drew Ali told us about the Negro River in West Africa, we see something else dealing with the Berlin Conference. So we got to understand that the book read in your church today that honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earthland which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. So you honor your father, that's God. And you honor God by living according to the fruits of the Spirit, or the Kalima Shahada, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, or whatever the doctrine of your science is. This is when you're dealing with the Father, because God is the Father. And if God is the Father and we claim him being the Father, then that means we are his children. So if we are his children, we got to do what the Father say do. So now let's look at it again then. Honor your mother. Mother Earth. Man derives his name from the earthland. Chinese are from China. Germans are from Germany. And Vietnamese are from Vietnam. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Now I could be one of those brothers or one of those sisters to say, I just want to stay in the background. I don't want to do no talking. I love my people, but I want to do this in the background. I can't stay in the background. I got to come and tell you that there's something missing because you think that all you have is a national name. But when you look at your national decent name, then where do it take you? When you talk about the religious side, then it takes you to Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. These are your forefathers. This is your spiritual side. These are spiritual beings. And when you begin to look at this flag again, Noble Drew Ali came and gave us some signs. Because Martin Luther King, good brother, remind me of Malcolm. When Malcolm went to the United Nations, and when he went to the United Nations, he talked to Youthon. And he told Youthon, said, look here, Youthon, we're going to bring the United States before the World Court and charge genocide. Youthon said, yeah, Malcolm, we honor you, brother. We heard of all your good work that you have done. But in order To take the United States before the world court, you must represent a nation. And we already have a representative from the United States. What nation do you represent? Malcolm jumped out there. He said, I represent the black man. He said, come on, Malcolm. You're more intelligent than that. You know black according to science means death. You know there ain't no such thing as black people. These names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. And Noble Drew Ali came and he said, this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. Now we keep talking about these names. I look at all these Moorish markers. They got Il and Bey behind their name. They have these old Arabian names behind their name. Drew Ali said, Millie Il, Small Bey, Lovett Bey, and Format Bey. Noble Drew Ali knew what he was doing. I know you got a lot of other people, some other prophets came and said some other stuff, but Noble Drew Ali knew what he was doing because he understood reparations because he had a direct connection with Allah. And when you talk about a direct connection, when these Europeans talk about reparation, they're going to go look at your paperwork. They're going to say, Hakuna da da tutu. Man, where he from? We can't put no science on him because we don't know from which he come. But if it say James Lynch-Bey, then you know when you see Lynch and when you see that Bey, then that means I'm in the line for this reparation. Because Lynch is not a slave name. Everybody want to talk about the slave name. The slave name is Negro, colored, and black. Keep it like the prophet said. So when you talk about Lynch, that was Merrill Lynch. And Merrill Lynch was bullish on America. He all up there in New York getting money. And then that dude named Willie Lynch down at the James River. I'm really messed up because my name is James Lynch. And I was at the river. James River, James Lynch. But I can't change my name. I got to keep it like the prophet said. I want to change it. I want to change it so bad. I want to change my name to Lumumba. I want to change my name legally to Abdu, which means servant, not Abdul, but Abdu, because that's African. I want to change that, but Noble Drew Ali gave us some other instructions. He gave us some instructions that we must follow because he said he signed up to go a certain way. He even told you don't use Ali. He said, don't name your children Ali. And I know you know why today, because there's so many Alis. I talked to a brother this morning called, said, this is the prophet. I said, prophet who? Prophet Jones? Because you can't be Prophet Noble Drew Ali because he left in 1929. See? And he said, get behind me, the prophet. And we're going to follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain, no unknown. Now, let me get ready to get into my subject matter. Because we'll get ready to have a celebration. We get ready to have a celebration next month here in Portland, Oregon. We're going to invite all of you to come. And this celebration that we're getting ready to have is Marcus Garvey's birthday. And the reason why we're going to have this celebration of Marcus Garvey, a lot of different reasons that we'll talk about then, but it's because I want to give you some science about Marcus Garvey. Say, why did Noble Drew Ali say Marcus Garvey was the forerunner and all these other brothers that was here in America that was trying to do some work? Why Drew Ali didn't give them the forerunner job? Why did he give it to Marcus Garvey? That's an easy question. I studied my lesson real well. The reason why I did that because he couldn't have gave nobody else no honor. If Noble Drew Ali would have gave anybody honor, it had to be a brother or a sister that wasn't born in America. Marcus Garvey was born in St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica. And our brother Thompson Bay, he came because he's working on this Marcus Garvey celebration. And he said, man, you got 5 or 6 different organizations that use the red, black, and green flag. And I said, I agree with that. Because they took the flag from Marcus Garvey. The red is the blood, and the black is the people, and the green is the land. And they took that and ran with it. But that was not the national flag of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was born in St. Anne's Bay in Jamaica. So his national flag was the Jamaican flag. So when Marcus Garvey had the red, black, and green flag, it was the flag of his organization, the UNIA. So this is why Noble Drew Ali gave him the signs as the forerunner because it was something that he could not have taught. He couldn't have been the prophet. He couldn't have taught you about your nationality, which you now have through Drew Ali because he already had one. He didn't even tell you about your religion. He's just telling you to go back to Africa. And we're talking about Marcus Garvey now. And we be into Liberia because you know Liberia is the country that was formed from ex-slaves here in America. Man, they went there, man, they so in disarray, it's a shame. And Marcus Garvey had a meeting with those brothers and sisters over in Liberia, and what he was going to do was take them ships. And taking these ships, he was going to put the brothers and sisters on them and take them back to Africa. But in time, the European went over there and sat down before Marcus Garvey could make that move and had a talk with our brothers and our sisters in Liberia and said, look here, don't let Malcolm come over here. If you let Malcolm come over here, you messing up for yourself. What it is, you got rubber over here. You have a lot of rubber over here, and we of European descent will give you all the money you want and let you build your bank with this rubber. And every time I drive, when I go get my car, whenever I go get me some new tires, I make sure I don't get Firestone. Because every time you see some tires with Firestone on it, you know that those tires came from Liberia. So Noble Drew Ali couldn't have gave no other brother or no other sister born here in America the title of forerunner because they didn't even have a nationality. If you was born here in America, you didn't even have a nationality. And nationality is the order of the day. Hooking you back up with the family of nations. And let me reiterate, we keep talking about the national side. You with the national side, and I'm with the national and national descent side. You know, if you with the national side, then you know what you're saying? You are saying that you are still a slave. Anybody that say that they are part of the national side of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you are still a slave. Let me explain to it. See? Because I know what I'm talking about. I studied a long time. Let me show you that. The books say that we were 3/5 of a man. They say we were 3/5 of a man and 2/5 was missing. And I questioned it, but after talking to the sheiks that Drew Ali talked to, they said, yeah, you was 3/5 because Drew Ali had to bring something that another other prophet did. Every other prophet brought one thing, Noble Drew Ali had to bring two. He had to bring you your nationality and your divine creed. So if you're talking about a national side, then that makes you 4/5. That makes you 4/5 of a man because you got your national side now. There's still another fifth that's missing. 5/5 is a whole all day in mathematics. So he wouldn't have been a lost prophet if he come and talk about some national side. We got a national side, we got a national descent side. Same thing with these flags. When you fly the flag, you have to understand that we're in this great melting pot, but this is our national name. Our national name is American. This free national republic that Drew Ali talked about in his book, he said a free national republic of the United States of America. We are talked about so often here in the Moorish Science Temple. They said, man, them Moors over there, they following that flag. They keep flying that flag. And you want to put it upside down. But Drew Ali is a scientist because he came from Allah. And Allah told him to tell us not even carry a pocket knife. And the reason why that is because these Europeans will crush us. All you brothers putting the big swords in your hand out there faking, come on. These Europeans serious. I was in the war with them. I was in the war with them so much, they were trying to kill me in Vietnam. I was a medic. They were trying to shoot me. So I know what they're going to do to you. And then we can't trust one another anyway, because who can you really trust? Because the thing that we have seen, let me share this too, and it's important that I do. We always hear brothers and sisters talking about family. We got to respect family, and we got to honor family. Who is your family? Let's look at this. You talking about your blood? Because we all are the descendants of the ancient Moabites. So we all have Moabite blood. So what you talking about? You got a brother and you got a sister from the same mother that you are from. And they're doing everything that's diametrically opposed to what God say. And then you say you some kind of Moorish American. You somebody trying to live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But yet they are living according to hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harm, and they get into something, they call you, and you go running, knowing that your principles supposed to be something different. You're supposed to have 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Evidently, the truth of the matter is not that, because you're not honoring the truth of that. You're not honoring your second principle, because a wise man never endanger himself for food. So now who is your family? In the church, they talk about the body of Christ. And when they talk about the body of Christ, they're talking about those that's of the same thought pattern. See, and if you are not of the same thought pattern, you're not my family. You ain't my family. I don't care if we come from the same mother. I don't care if we come from the same father. If you are not honoring the creed and principles of your mother and father, and you're straying after the gods of Europe, of whom you know nothing, you are not my brother and sister. I really want to talk about this now. I want to talk about it because the last couple of weeks we've been talking about Ramadan, praying 5 times a day, and I'm going to go back to this saying, Ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah. That's one of the pillars of Islam. You got to bear witness that there's no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet. I can't do that, because if Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet, what kind of God would God be? We done came through the Middle Passage. We done lost our nationality. We done lost our divine creed. And you don't think God gonna send us somebody? And that's part of the Berlin Conference. You got all these brothers that's darker than me and you. And the first thing they say, ain't nobody else coming after Muhammad. He's the last and the seal of the prophet. Knowing we done went through the Middle Passage. And like God ain't gonna send us nobody. See, because whenever a nation is in need, we're not saying that Noble Ali is the last prophet and ain't nobody coming after him. We are saying in this era of time, just like in this era of time, you Moorish Americans, because you went into Spain as Moors and you came out as Negro, colored, and black. Everything that transpired with the Atlantic slave trade came through West Africa. So am I a Hebrew Israelite? Yes, I am, because that's in my genealogy. But in this era of time, dealing with the slave trade and all these surrounding sciences, you got to pick up this flag here, because this is the one that was taken down. This flag was taken down and put in a vault. And the reason why it was taken down and put in a vault, so you wouldn't know who you were or who your forefathers were. So we keep talking about the slave trade and the Europeans, and all of us really is in slavery. If you call yourself black, if you call yourself Negro, if you keep saying, going around, say it used to be this way, but we can't do nothing about changing it, we just got to let it go, you a slave. You still a slave. You might well eat a pork chop. See, you talking about that you love God, and in your Bible, it tells you about eating a pig's hoof. It tells you about that. It tells you about your dietary law. And then we got another holiday going to come up in a little while, Christmas. Jeremiah 10 tells you about the Christmas tree, etc., but you still going to put one up, and you can keep talking about the European. Don't talk about him. That's your man. That's your master. You have the master's degree. So don't run around here like you real serious. That's why you back in the corner and say, I like to do things from the background, because you ain't serious. You serious when you become a reactionary. When something transpires, when somebody get hurt, or when somebody get killed, or when something then you want to run your mouth and talk about it. But when ain't nothing transpired, you don't really want to be a part of it. You mix the blood, and you do everything that's diametrically opposed to what God say. A many are called, a few are chosen. But we're talking about one supreme issue. See, we got a party going on. And the party that's going on is by invitation only. And you need an invitation to get in this party, because we need to know who you are and who your forefathers were. So when you come in the door to this party that we got, and it's top, and when you come in the door, you're going to have to show your invitation. And your invitation is your nationality card. That is your invitation to the earthland, because everybody is laughing at you, and everybody is laughing at me, because everybody knows that there's no such people as a Negro, because Negro is a name. given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Black, according to signs, means death. When we was coming up, they do anything now. When we was coming up, whenever time somebody go to a funeral, they always wear black because it symbolized death and they mourn. So Negro, black, and colored. Colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. So you ain't Negro, colored, and black. You're not a coon. You're not a shine. You are Moorish American Muslim. You are Moorish because you are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites. We're talking about those of whom Allah blessed with the signs, because he could have gave it to another nation. Now, I was in a meeting with some sisters the other day, and it was a beautiful meeting because the sisters that I was in the meeting with, the brothers was there too, they gave some good understanding about a lot of lessons. And let me explain. One of the things that we was talking about is that, you know, you see on a lot of commercials where the Europeans tell you that it's good to drink human urine or animal urine and it cleans your body. Well, that do apply to some, but it don't apply to the Moabite nation. And it apply to some because you was drinking those things when you was over there with Ramus and Remus. When y'all was over there in the cave, you was doing that. And the sisters say that our brothers is getting so bad now. They acting like somebody else so much that they done begin to accept Bloody Mary. At that time, when you supposed to be teaching that gospel and recuperating from what Allah did, you still doing something, and you eating and drinking Bloody Mary. You might as well go on and lose your head again because that's what you have done. So when you begin to talk about certain things, because the Europeans said that the other day to Nabi and me, they understand that every culture has different culture. The things that we might do, another culture might not do. See, so Allah gave each and every one of us a part of the signs. But let me tell you this. We say the war going on against Islam and Islamism. There's no war going on with Islam because we're still talking about the same spirit. We're talking about Jesus. We're talking about Muhammad. We're talking about Buddha. And we're talking about Confucius. And everybody else have a different science than the Moorish America. Because some people honor Jesus. They ain't going to honor Muhammad. They ain't going to honor Buddha. They're not going to honor Confucius. They ain't going to honor nobody but Jesus. But Ali told us something different. He said, you know what? I come whenever nations in need for a prophet. He said, when you talk about Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, it ain't but one spirit. Man, it's not the body nor the soul. You can't see me. It's not in flesh to think, and it's not in bones to reason. So the Moorish Americans, we honor Jesus. We honor Muhammad. We honor Buddha. And we honor Confucius because they are all the same reincarnated spirit. That's why it can't be but one Ali. In this Arab time is the first time you heard that. You never heard somebody say there's two Muhammads. You never heard somebody say there's two Buddhas. You never heard somebody say there's two Confucius. But soon Ali left, somebody jumped up to him, I'm back. What you mean you're back? Follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain, nor unknown. Vanity is beyond them all. Weep not therefore at the calamities of the human state. Rather laugh at his folly, because in the hands of a man addicted to vanity, life then is but a shadow of a dream. Now, the Council of Nicaea. This is when the bishops, the Europeans came together. And when they came together, they stole all our records. You know, when you begin to talk about Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, when you begin to talk about these chumps, these are the chumps that came. You know, remember the Greek bearing gift and the Trojan horse. These are the chumps that came, took all our religions from Africa, put them in the Vatican, and all of them that they didn't want and use, they burned them up. So what they did, the ones that they kept, what did they do? They kept them, and then they came together with the Council of Nicaea. They even had a creed they gave themselves, the Council, the Nicene Creed. So they came together, and they looked at it, and they said, oh, man. They say Jesus was able to walk on water. So let's teach this in our doctrine that Jesus was able to walk on water. But then we go and look at our literature that Noble Drew Ali gave us. And the reason why we had to look into the literature that Noble Drew Ali gave us is because you have a lot of brothers and sisters that go to church, talk about they love God, but they couldn't think in their own mind, or they could do all else. They could walk on water. They say, I can't walk on water. Jesus did it. But Jesus said, what I am, all men can be. And what I am, all men should be. He said that. He said, whatever he done, you could do the same thing and greater. And you know what? Some Europeans did it. Claudia and Judith in chapter 17. Jesus said, hey, come on with me. Come on with me and walk upon the wave. I'm going to make you my ambassadors to Rome. So Claudia and Judith went with Jesus, started walking with Jesus. Jesus was talking to them, and they become his ambassadors to Rome. How did that happen? Because once Jesus got with them and started teaching about this gospel, because Jesus said the resurrection of the dead is not confined to the Jew or the Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime, and I'm here, a demonstrator of the power of man. So Claudia and Judith begin to listen to Jesus by the sea and begin to hear his words of truth. And when they heard his words of truth, then those things of the world became no more part of them. They let it go. So what did they do? They began to walk with Jesus too. Europeans now. Asiatics, you say you can't do it. But these European, Claudia and Judith, began to walk with Jesus upon the wave. Now, Jesus set up a brotherhood in Europe. Jesus set up a brotherhood in Europe. Let's listen to this, because we're talking about the spirit. When this is all gone, we're dealing with the spirit, because man is not the body, nor the soul. So Jesus set up a brotherhood in Europe. Chapter 17 tell you that. On the fiber near Rome. And when you set up a brotherhood in Europe, they start acting like Jesus. They start talking like Jesus. They start being like Jesus. You know, when the brother went up in the hills to write the 10th commandments, and his brother Aaron was there, and when he came back down, they was worshiping the golden calf when Jesus left. And when Jesus came back, Claudia and Judith was still doing the work. So now, let's look at this, you Negroes who slaves. And you fake like you love your people, but you don't, because you're celebrating all these, you're doing the same thing. What about you? Now, if there's a brotherhood that Jesus set up in Europe, and you are living according to the things that Claudia and Judith gave up, then who are you? What makes you my brother? What makes you my sister? Because if God the Father, then there's some principles. That's something else we talked about in Holy Day. We're talking about principles now. We're talking about a particular standard. So if you have these principles in your life, a particular standard, and these same Europeans that Jesus raised up over there had these same standards in their life, and you got a sister that's gay. You got a brother that's a gangster. You got a cousin that's doing everything that's diametrically opposed to God, then who is really your brother and your sister? Let's look at this for what it really is, because we're getting hung up in an illusion. See, because even after buried, turn a certain age, the mother let you go out the cage. After you become a certain age, then it's on you now. See, and this is what we are teaching here in the Moral Science Temple of America. Lynch-Bey used to say, sentimentality never built a nation. We're not dealing with feelings and emotions. We're not dealing with sentiments. But we're only going to be on this plane of things made manifest just for a little while. Why be in this world? To eat, to sleep, to see the world. All these things is we have done too often anyway. Aren't they repetition? Why are you out here on this earth? Why are you here? Why do you want to stay here? Are you trying to uplift all humanity? Are you trying to teach those things necessary to make our people better citizens? Or are you just trying to collect all the books you can have so you can pass them around and let them see how sharp you are, but you ain't getting involved doing nothing, but yet you say you love God? See? You know how people say they love God that they have not seen, but your brothers and sisters right around you, you can't love them. You got to look at this. You got to call an ace an ace. You got to call a spade a spade. You can't serve two masters at the same time. You can't straddle the fence. And if you say that you are Moorish American, if you say that you are Chinese, if you say that you are whatever, you have a particular culture. You have customs. You have culture. You have heritages. And you have traditions. And we're talking right now about this flag. This is the flag of Solomon. We're talking about the house of David. And when you begin to talk about the house of David, yes, you're talking about a providence. Yes, you are. But you also is talking about a bloodline genealogy. You're talking about the blood. That's why Drew Ali tell us, don't mix the blood. You know, I put a post up not too long ago. You have a lot of brothers. And a lot of brothers got a pit bull. And this pit bull that they have, they will not mix their pit bull with no other animal. And they say the reason why they don't do that is because they don't want to mix the blood, because it weakens the blood. But today they got something new. You got a lot of brothers that got babies by Europeans. And you have a lot of sisters that have babies by Europeans. And they say the reason why they do that, because it helps their blood. They say because the Europeans are the ones that have all of the knowledge, all the wisdom. I remember Darrell Holder joined the Moorish Science Temple because he had a question to ask when he was writing his thesis. The European, after European say, I don't know. He went right past me, say, go ask Lynch-Bey. Boy, I couldn't wait for him to come to me. When he came to me 7 days later, I was giving him a nationality card. Because when you see ourselves, when you see your brother, or when you see your sister, nothing we say mean nothing. Our word is nothing. You won't listen to us. That's why Noble Drew Ali say, if you want a European Grand Sheik, I give you one of those too, because you will listen to that one. But when it comes to your own, you won't listen to it. Drew Ali came. Let me show you something. Very good. Marcus Garvey. Let's look at him again, because we're getting ready to have that celebration. Marcus Garvey already had a nationality. And if he did not have a nationality, he would not have been the forerunner of Noble Drew Ali, because Drew Ali had to put somebody out front that was fully armed. And Marcus Garvey, from his perspective, like they say in the Holy Quran of Mecca, he had the Kitab, the Huklum, and the Nutlewah. He had all that with him. But his Kitab was the Bible. He was a Christian. But he prepared the people. He said, there's one coming that I won't be able to carry his shoes. Now, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, there's a lot of lessons on Marcus Garvey that's not in those books, because Marcus Garvey, millions of brothers and sisters, or thousands of brothers and sisters that was with him, joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. We was talking about one of the Grand Muftis that was 1925 was when Marcus Garvey used to meet with Noble Drew Ali in the park. So there's a lot of things that Noble Drew Ali told us that wasn't written down. Just like all you sheiks, and call yourself sheiks, even though you ain't been in the movement for 7 days or 2 months, and call yourself sheiks, they showed you something. And whatever they showed you, it wasn't written down. It was from mouth to ear and from your eyes. So in the Moorish Science Temple of America, a lot of stuff Noble Drew Ali gave us. He said, you got to exercise your 5 senses. You got to exercise your own sense. Remember back in the day when they said you could take a horse through the water, but you can't make him drink. And Brother Cornelius Cook-Bey, little young sheik out of Chicago, and his fathers and his uncle, great uncle, were with the prophet. And I remember, and I always speak on this, he said they was in Sunday school one time. And one of the Cook-Bey, G. Cook-Bey, and other brothers, the prophet said this. The other said, no, the prophet said that. See, when you begin to listen to the prophet's teachings and understanding his words, it depends on your level of understanding what you're going to accept. Because a lot of stuff going to be said to you and you ain't going to pick it up. 2, 3, 4, 5 people sitting right there when Noble Drew Ali teach something, and when they leave there, all 5 of them have a different understanding. See? Because you got to understand that Drew Ali tell every member to exercise your 5 senses. He said, exercise your five senses, who was able to do so. He said, who was able to do so. And if you can't exercise your five senses, then that means that somebody else going to have to exercise your five senses for you. And when we begin to talk about the five, we're going to add the seven. Because we know that there's seven of them. See, because there's one on the spiritual plane and there's one on the plane of soul. So we are talking about getting back with the great God Allah. We are talking about winning this war of Armageddon. See, there's a war of Armageddon that's going on, and a lot of people talking about we don't know where the war of Armageddon is. The war of Armageddon is within you. When you're talking about battling truth and falsehood, the high self, the lower self, the wise and the ignorant, the rich and the poor. See, when you begin to talk about battling your lower self, you're fighting them in the war. It's the war of Armageddon, the war of truth and the war of falsehood. Because Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and make our own. Let's stop looking for heaven in the sky. We have to open up the windows of our heart, and like a flood of light, a truth will come, a heaven will come. Because heaven is a state of mind, a state of bliss, a state of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Because we love our brothers and sisters, and we tell them the truth. That they live in peace, have freedom, and justice will come to us all. Brother was telling me the other day about my feds. Noble Drew Ali told my instructor when he first joined the Moorish Science Temple, he said, take off that fez because it's 33 in the third, and I'm going to give you a better one. He also told him that he took the covers off of all secret organizations. And you know why you find a lot of brothers and a lot of sisters that call themselves top flight Moors? You know why they run into the Masonic order or the Eastern Star and putting on? It's because they don't believe in Drew Ali either. Somebody got to tell you something. You some kind of grand sheik in the Moorish Science Temple. You some kind of this in the Moorish Science Temple, and you still gonna go somewhere else where Drew Ali said that the word that they use anyway is your forefather. They talking about Boaz. They talking about Ruth. They talking about Elizabeth. That's why I say Joseph by Mary and Boaz by Ruth. It ain't but seven. Then I ask you something else. I say, what is the first day? And you tell me the first day is Sunday. Then I ask somebody else what the first day is. They said the first day is Thursday. Then I asked another brother what was the first day. He said the first day was Saturday. That sounds a little better. It sounds a little better to me. I don't know what your understanding is. I want you to keep it. But it sounds fun to me because I thought that Friday was the holy day of rest. And if Friday is our holy day of rest, I thought that was the seventh day. Now, I know your big sheets, you got another science. But what is the seventh day? And what is the first day? Because when you begin to talk about the Christian Sabbath day is on a Sunday. When you talk about a Jehovah's Witness, the Jehovah's Witness Sabbath day is on a Saturday. When you talk about the Muslim, the Sabbath day is on a Friday. Now when we come up in ancient times, on Friday, everybody ate fish. See? And fish had a lot to do with our customs, our culture, our heritages, and our traditions. And Drew Ali bought all of this. Another thing, we had a brother supposed to come on the show today, but he had a hernia, he couldn't come. He had his Uber juice. And he gonna come on the show, and he been on a couple of times, and he gonna talk about health. You see the Prophet's Tea, the Prophet Compound. Drew Ali gave us this in 1913. Because during the time of the Depression, a lot of our brothers and sisters, wasn't nothing to eat. And Drew Ali say, if it ain't nothing to eat, you better eat some willy or whatever you can find to eat. And I'm going to give you some compounds and oil and tea and everything to clean that foolishness out of you. Brother told me, Lynch-Bey, I ain't going to eat no pork. I just go on and die. Well, go ahead then. That's stupid. If I eat a pork chop, if it's going to save me from past and form, because we got work to do out here on this plane of things made manifest. It don't make no difference. You sound just like the brother I taught on Friday. Back in the 70s, I had to meet brother. All of them had big black spots right here on their head. And that means they hit the floor the hardest, and some of them be bleeding. That means that they the righteous and said the most prayers. So now, do we pray 5 times a day? That's ludicrous. When Prophet Muhammad gave the Muslims at that time 5 prayers to pray, I could understand that, because they were worshiping the gold. They were doing everything that was diametrically opposed. And by the time he give you one prayer, by the time you get ready, it's time you pray again, then it's before you get ready to do some foolishness. But in this era of time, Drew Ali say, I'm 5 times greater than any prophet that come before me. You can see it. You can see that, because every round gets higher and higher when you climbing Jacob's ladder. So if you give somebody a helping hand, if you help somebody in need, if somebody in some kind of assistance that you could help them with, that's a prayer. A good word, a kind deed. Helping those in need is a prayer. I don't have to get real large. I don't have to do that, because I don't have to impress you. My relationship with God is personal. And we all need a personal relationship with God. You know, before you drive, when you're in your car and you get ready to go off, first thing you do, say, God, protect me from hurt, harm, and danger. I know a lot of these drivers, they don't have enough money to get their brakes fixed. I don't know what I might go through, but protect me through hurt, harm, and danger. Ever get, you got to pray to God. You know, in the church, they say he on the main line. You don't need nobody. You don't need no priest to intercede. You don't need to go say, Father, I sinned. I need you to go to God for me. Nah, man don't need no middleman. I don't need a priest. That's how good Rome is. They had you and me going to somebody else, praying to them, and that's Christianity. See, you keep saying that the Catholic Church is not Christianity. That's the foundation of Christianity. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. When you begin to talk about the Roman nations is the Italians, because Italy is in Rome. But the first thing I do, what's up? Okay, it's not Italy. That's not this. It's not. First thing we want to do, we want to wear all Italian clothes. We want to wear their knits, or I got Calvin Klein. That ain't too much difference. Because what we want to do, we want to take on the concepts. We want to take on all that. Now, we got these young brothers out there now, they're saying, put on your garb. Because I remember Noble Drew Ali had the first Moorish custom ball. Europeans went and tried to buy up everything because they didn't want that to be in full manifest. So the key now is charity. We need to pay charity. And when I say we need to pay charity, I'm talking about giving back to who you say you are a part of. Because when Noble Drew Ali told them all, you must support your wife and children. He wasn't just talking about supporting your wife and children financially. He is talking about supporting your wife and children with the truth. And if you go around celebrating holidays that was a demise of us as a people, it's disrespectful to your line genealogy. It's respectful to the seed that you produced, because you have to understand they're going to take on that concept that you gave them. So right now, the only way to get close to God, the only way that we can come in unity, because I've seen the morals on there, I've seen more. Yeah, just go with your family. No, don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of it. You know, charity begins at home, and home is where the heart is. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to shut my mouth, because I got a lot of blessings coming. My daughter getting ready to get married, my second daughter. I'm getting ready to go to Washington, D.C. and try to talk to some politicians, so I'm just happy. So in conclusion, I want to quote chapter 25 of our Moorish Holy Quran. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given ye suck. That the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brother, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy Father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity.